Okay, hi, it's Lisa Moore here from the Athena Eastern Mid Sussex group, and I'm doing some chats with my members. And today I have got the lovely Melanie Johnson from Sussex Social here with me today. So I've been doing a series of these with my ladies from Athena, just for us to be able to share what they do. So Mel, it's really great to see you. Thank you for coming today.
That's okay.
I'd like you to tell me a little bit about Sussex Social and what you do.
Okay, so I am a social media trainer. So I specialise in working with service-based business professionals, mainly women. I do get the occasional man who want to use their social media to be more visible and feel more confident about getting out there and showing themselves. So my background is I worked in sales and marketing for about how many years? About 17 years now.
So
And
you're 50.
and I retrained / upskilled in 2016 as a strategic social media consultant. So I did a 9-month training course to learn all about social media, which has obviously massively changed since then. And I was doing social media management and writing strategy for people. I still do write strategies for people, but I think last year I really identified that there was this almost like a gap in the market for training, because social media now is so much more about authenticity and telling your story and showing up on your social media, as you know, Lisa. And I think that quite often gets lost in translation. And it's kind of driving that engagement. But also what I've found from running various different training courses was that people really would come to me and they felt really unconfident about their social media, but not just about their social media, about kind of what they should talk about.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a physical product.
Yeah.
So my kind of line on that is, you do have a product, that product is you, but it's it's all about really working with people on how to get that message out there. Because I can teach you all how to use Instagram and LinkedIn, but if you don't know what to post, then you're not going to use it.
No.
And therefore that kind of becomes redundant.
Yeah.
So that is essentially what I do.
Excellent. So, I mean, you mentioned there that your ideal client is more likely to be a woman in business than a man, but you can deal with both. So, tell me a bit more about when you say service-based businesses. Can you give me some examples of what that means?
So what I've noticed is that I started running a lot of group training, and actually the people I was attracting were people who were quite similar to me. So had come from a corporate background, or a bigger job, and had changed, what they were doing and what they wanted to do. And that was for a variety of reasons. It might be because they got made redundant, they might have fancied a change, or it might be because actually I'm a mum and I don't want to be trekking up to London and getting up at 7 a.m. and getting home at 7. But the more and more of those people that were kind of coming through the door were people like coaches, accountants, financial advisors, fitness professionals, get quite a lot of those, photographers, estate agents, videographers, so kind of other types of marketers as well, and designers and graphic designers. So and they were stuck because they don't have the product is them.
Yeah.
And they're stuck with that. And actually they don't need to know about setting up Facebook shop or Instagram shop. They need to know how to portray themselves online. So, and for me, the thing that I absolutely love about all of my ideal clients is, and I wish sometimes when I do online training and training in person, because one of the questions I always ask people is, like, why do you love what you do? And people just light up when they talk about it. And I always say to them, I just wish I'd filmed that, because that is exactly why people buy from you, because it's the relationship, and because generally they care about their customers. So those really, I think, are my ideal clients. People who recognise that they're a stumbling block, that they don't really know how to move forwards.
And that's really interesting because I was just going to ask you the question, why do you love what you do? And you answered it. And actually you did exactly what you did exactly what you just explained, because you lit up with the passion for what you do. And you know, I've seen some of your stuff online. I haven't sadly been able to come to any of your workshops yet, but you make it easy and simple and not intimidating. I think, you know,
Thank
social
you.
media, there's so much out there now, isn't there? It's like, oh my God, I've got to learn this, I've got to learn this, and how do I do this? And you simplify that for your clients and help them, you know, give them the confidence to do it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's yeah, that's kind of my aim really, is just to help people and just cut through the jargon, because I always think I think we all make an assumption in our business that we have so much knowledge, and that quite often other people won't even know the basics, because why would they? That's not what they're there to do. I mean, I always kind of use the analogy that, you know, I can take a photo on my phone, but I'm not a photographer.
Yeah.
You know, in theory, anybody can go, you know, anybody can pick up some weights and do some exercise, but they're probably not going to, you know what they're doing, have a routine, or be able to do it right. So it's just really, you know, what are those key things, and, you know, why do we do what we do? And actually, we don't need to be able to know everything.
No.
You know, and social media changes every single day, and I think you can get so bogged. My idea as well is to kind of take the fear and the stress away from it, because actually you don't need to be posting on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, thinking about Pinterest, but you do need to find the one or two things that are right for you.
Yeah.
And that your client is using, but also that you feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Fantastic. So you're a great lady to know. So if anybody's watching this that is struggling with social media and not really sure where to start, then Melanie's definitely your girl.
yeah, do look me up. I'm actually running a webinar next Thursday, which is an hour and a half. It's based on my best-selling workshop, How to Build a Social Media Strategy. So it's an hour and a half on your strategy for success, a social media workshop where I'm talking to people about, you know, where their ideal client hangs out, you know, how to come up with, you know, 5 pillars or buckets of content, so you've got those things to draw from, you know, what your objectives should be, and just really kind of condensing it down. So go on.
Yeah, and
Sorry,
I was going to say that, and that's something that you do on a regular basis. So for somebody that's watching this, not now, we're in September 2020 now, but if somebody watching this next year, it's something that you do on a regular basis, isn't it? So the best way to find you, you've got your web address on your...
I've got my web address here, yes. And then my social media handles. So I'm mainly active on Instagram and LinkedIn now. So I think LinkedIn is Melanie Johnson, social media trainer, and Instagram is just at the Sussex Social.
Yeah, so it's easy to find you because you're on social media.
I am. Probably a little bit too much sometimes.
Well, no, I think it's the place to be. And you're, you know, from an Athena point of view, you're a fairly new member for me in my Heath group, and actually you've been a member since we've had to pivot to doing everything online. So I'd really like to know what's the benefits that you've got out of Athena, and how have you found it since becoming a member? What would you say is a good thing for other people thinking of it?
I've done a lot of networking in the last year. I mean, it's something that I quite enjoy, quite social. And I sort of knew that I needed to join something, and I couldn't kind of work out what. And I felt, having been to other networking groups, that potentially either my ideal client wasn't there, or it was just very, I don't like to use, not very honest, I think is the word. No, it wasn't okay to say, actually, I'm having a bit of, you know, I mean, obviously you go to these things and you get to say that, you know, actually I don't, you know, I'm really struggling with this, or, you know, I need some advice on this. I think the training element of it is really important, and I think the support for me as well, which will become I think, more apparent as I attend some of the meetings, because I think I joined in, I think we had 2 meetings. And
Yeah,
then summer
June,
break.
July, I think. Yeah.
So yeah, it's that, I think it's that support and you know, people understanding the position that you're in. I think as a working mum who's just trying to juggle, I don't know, 82 different things every day.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, and I think, you know, the 3 aims that we have, Athena: support, accountability, and strategic alliances. Well, you've mentioned 2 of those already. That, you know, I think they do make a really big difference to people, and I, you know, I hope that I can support you to grow your business in the next few months during your membership. So it's been really lovely to chat to you. Thank you so much.
Excellent. That's all right.
And
I will see you very soon.
I will see you very soon. Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks,
See
Mel.
you
Take
soon.
care.
Thanks, Lisa. Bye. Bye.